actually terrifying.
We recently uncovered something truly shocking during our last viewing of an Akiya in Japan. This was our second visit to Kanazawa in Ishikawa Prefecture. It's only a couple hours north of Tokyo. We went there once already with Yoshi, a friend we made when we were first thinking about investing in startups in Japan. Samantha and I moved to Japan a little over a year ago from Oregon. After 3 separate vacations to Japan, we finally decided it was time to move here. I'd done 6 years working for a global gaming company, and Sam had done 5 years as a professional tattoo artist. But there was always something going on in our careers that made a move to Japan just not make sense, until one day it did. We sold our home in Oregon and sold everything that we couldn't pack into cases, grabbed our 2 cats, and got accepted to Japanese language school to move here on student visas. We figured it would be easier to figure out how to live in Japan long term from Japan rather than trying to figure it out from overseas. And in the 10 years that we've been together, we've packed up and moved so many times, often to a city where we didn't yet have a job set up, that reinventing ourselves like this is just not so scary.
Okay. And a non-gluten-free one.
We just have the gluten-free one right now.
In some ways, it kind of feels like the only way to grow, to dive straight into the deep end of something and figure out how to swim from there. That doesn't mean we won't make mistakes. It has been super challenging, especially learning Japanese. Speaking of mistakes, I think this is the second time that Sam's accidentally bought jelly water instead of regular water. We'd made some friends on TikTok who also purchased an Akiya in Kanazawa 3 months back, and after a nice dinner with them, we tucked in for the night. The next day, we caught up with Yoshi at one of 3 properties that we were planning on looking at that day. This will be the 3rd time and maybe the 7th, 8th, and 9th properties that we've toured with him so far, and he's been super dedicated to helping us find the right place, the right price, in the right condition to where a remodel wouldn't be so expensive that it would break the budget. Two of the properties were modern construction, somewhere between the 60s and the 80s, so even though structurally they're pretty safe, they're kind of just 4 walls and a roof. But one property we saw in Kanazawa, which was actually very close to the Ninja Temple, is suspected to have been built in the 1930s, and it's actually on the city's charter of historic properties. That means there would likely be restrictions on the kinds of renovation that you could do, but Kanazawa also has subsidies for restoring historical properties as well. So there's pros and cons with this one. What was really cool about it is it had that kind of indoor garden area, but when Sam and Yoshi actually went out into it to figure out what the stone thing was in the middle, what they found was absolutely crazy.
So, is it a well?
I have not seen it.
Oh, it's an actual well.
It's an actual well.
Holy, it is insanely deep too.
I know, it's really...
When I measured the time it took from letting go to hitting the surface of the water and multiplying that against the acceleration formula for gravity, we suspect the depth is somewhere between 50 and 70 feet, and who knows how far it goes after the surface of the water.
That's actually terrifying.
And the sound, there was like, it was so muted.
If we end up buying this property and then I suddenly disappear, you know where to start looking.
Oh my
This is so special. If we have family visit, it has to be tradition.
The view from the upstairs is also pretty unique. Yoshi thinks that such a view might be less appealing to locals, which might be the reason why the property's been vacant for so long. But we think it's pretty cool. Kanazawa gets a lot of annual rainfall compared to cities like Tokyo, but Sam and I are used to it, having lived in both Oregon and Florida for most of our lives. We kind of like the wet, gloomy weather. The rain, the rivers, the old buildings. It's exactly the kind of vibe that we're looking for. After looking at 3 properties, we grabbed a snack with Yoshi and weighed all of our options, trying to figure out which one, if any, we should make an offer on. And then he headed off to see an architecture museum, and we headed off to head to a different museum. Kanazawa is chock full of museums of art and traditional craft, and the one we didn't get to go to the first time around that we absolutely needed to this time was Ishikawa Prefectural Museum of Traditional Crafts. And unlike a lot of museums, you can actually take photos and video in there. The museum documents more than 30 traditional Japanese crafts specific to Ishikawa Prefecture. They also have an amazing gift shop, both permanent and special exhibitions, and it was really cool being able to see how kinpaku, or gold leaf paper, is made. A lot of the exhibits show you step by step, from start to finish, how the crafts come together. Kanazawa supplies 95% of Japan's gold leaf, and I imagined it would be hard to make, but it was really impressive seeing exactly how it's done. They even had a real tea room that was completely covered in gold leaf. And you can imagine the crazy ideas that gave us for our future home. Afterwards, we took a trip to Kanazawa Castle, where we walked the garden grounds, and inside the castle we were able to see how it's actually constructed. This kind of place would be an architect's dream, as you could see and touch the wood joinery techniques used to build it. They also had exhibits of items that were excavated during remodels. Just outside the castle, we found a cafe and had lunch while waiting for the rain to pass. It gave us some time to really think about whether Kanazawa is the place for us. Maybe between the business and some part-time gigs working in the museums, and the money we might save through homeownership rather than continuing to rent in Tokyo, this might all work out. If you'd asked me 10 years ago if I was going to turn 40 in Japan, I would have said that sounds like a really cool idea. We just want to be the kind of people that Japan would welcome. I'm just putting one foot in front of the other, and hopefully it all comes together. I also need to remember how lucky I am to have somebody like Sam with me, who I know win or lose is going to stick with me anyways. And I think at the end of the day in life, you need to just be able to look back and say you really did your best. I'd rather fail at something and know I gave it my all, than look back and think that I could have done more. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we hope you'll stick around to see how this all turns out. If you have any questions for us, leave them in the comments, and we'll love to help you figure out whatever you want to do next time you're in Japan. Whether it's craft workshops, getting advice on moving, whatever floats your boat.